The richest man in Babylon, Saint S. Clason. The richest man in Babylon. In old Babylon, there once lived a certain very rich man named Arkad. Far and wide, he was famed for his great wealth. Also was he famed for his liberality. He was generous in his charities. He was generous in his family. He was liberal in his own expenses. But nevertheless, his wealth increased more rapidly than he spent it. And there were certain friends of younger days who came to him and said, "You, Arkad, are more fortunate than we. You have become the richest man in all Babylon while you struggle for existence. You can wear the finest garment and you can enjoy the rarest food, while we must be content if we can clothe our families in raiment that is presentable and feed them at best we can. Yet, once we were mijkor, we started under the same master, we played in the same game, and in neither the studies nor the game did you outshine us. And in the years since, you have been no more an honorable citizen than we. Nor have you worked harder or more faithfully, in so far as we can judge. Why then should a fickle fate single you out to enjoy all the good things of life and ignore us who are weakly deserving? Therefore Arkad remonstrated with them, saying, "If you have not acquired more than a bare existence in the years since your youth, it's because you either have failed to learn the laws that govern the building of wealth, or else you do not observe them. Fickle fate is a vicious goddess who brings no permanent good to anyone. On the contrary, she brings ruin to almost every man upon whom she showers unearned gold. She makes wanton spenders who soon dissipate all they receive and are left beset by overwhelming appetites and desire they have not the ability to gratify. Yet others whom she favors become meager and hoard their wealth, fearing to spend that they have, knowing they do not possess the ability to replace it. They further are beset by fear of robbers and doom themselves to live of emptiness and secret misery. Others there probably are who can take unearned gold and add to it and continue to be happy and contented citizen. But so few are they. I know of them, but by hearsay think you of the men who have inherited sudden wealth, and see if these things are not so." His friends admit that of the men they knew who had inherited wealth, these words were true, and they besought him to explain to them how he had become possessed of so much prosperity. So he continued, "In my youth, I looked about me and saw all the good things there were to bring happiness and contentment, and I realized that wealth increases the potency of all these. Wealth is of power. With wealth, many things are possible. One may ornament at the home with the richest of furnishes. One may sail the distant years. One may feast on the delicacies of far land. One may buy the ornament of the gold worker and the stone polisher. One may even build mighty temples for the god. One may do all these things and many others in which there is delight for the sense and gratification for the soul. And when I realized all this, I decided to myself that I would claim my share of good things of life. I would not be one of those who stand apart of, embarrassingly watching others enjoy. I would not be content to clothe myself in the cheapest raiment that looked respectable. I would not be satisfied with a lot of poor men. On the contrary, I would make myself a guest at this banquet of good things. Being, as you know, the son of the humble merchant, one of the large family with no hope of an inheritance, and not being endowed, as you have so frankly said, with the superior power of wisdom, I decided that if I was to achieve that I desired, time and study would be required. As for time, all men have it in abundance. You each of you have less spilled by sufficient time to have made yourselves wealthy. Yet you admit you have nothing to show except your good families, of which you can be justly proud. As for study, did not our wise teacher teach us that learning was of two kinds? The one kind being the things we learned and know, and the other things, the training that taught us how to find out what we did not know. Therefore, did I decide to find out how one might accumulate wealth, and when I had found out, to make this my task and do it well. For is it not wise that we should enjoy while we dwell in the brightness of the sunshine? For sorrows enough shall descend upon us when we depart for the darkness of the world of spirit. I found employment as a scribe in a hall of records, and long hours each day I labored upon the clay tablet. Week after week and month after month I labored, and for my earning I had naught to show. Food and clothing and penance to the gods, and other things of which I could remember not what, absorbed all my earnings. But my determination did not leave me, and one day Algamash, the money lender, came to the house of the city master and ordered a copy of the ninth law, and he said to me, I must have this in 2 days, and if the task is done by that time, 2 coppers will I give to thee. So I labored hard, but the law was wrong, and when Algamash returned the task was unfinished. He was angry, and had I been his slave, he would have beaten me. But knowing the city master would not permit him to injure me, I was afraid. So I said to him, Algamashi, you are a very rich man. Tell me how I may also become rich. And all night I'll crave upon the clay, and when the sun rises, it shall be completed. He smiled at me and replied, You are a fool, knave, but we will call it a bargain. All the night I carved, though my back pained, and the smell of the wick made my head ache until my eyes could hardly see. But when he returned, the sun up, the tablet was complete. Now, I said, tell me what you promised. You have fulfilled your part of your bargain, my son, he said to me kindly, and I am ready to fulfill mine. I'll tell you these things you wish to know because I am becoming an old man, and the world tongue loves to wave. And when youth come to age for advice, he received the wisdom of years. But too often does youth think that age knows only the wisdom of days that are gone, and therefore profit not. But remember this, the sun that shines today is the sun that shone when the father was born, and will still be shining when the last grandchildren grandchild shall pass into the darkness. The short of youth, he continued, are bright light that shine forth like the meteor of earth make a brilliant sky. But the wisdom of the age is like the fixed star that shines so unchanged that the shell may depend upon them to steer his course. Mark you well my word, for if you do not, you will fail to grasp the truth that I'll tell you, and you will think that your night work have been in vain. Then he looked at me shrewdly from under his shaggy brows and said in a low, possible tone, I found the road to wealth when I decided that a part of all I earned was mine to keep. And so will you. Then he continued to look at me with a gallantry that I could feel pierce me, but said no more. Is that all? I asked. This was sufficient to change the heart of a sheepherder into the heart of a money lender, he replied. Okay.